Summer of 1991, Los Angeles. Beneath the sun-scorched streets, the city's darkness had claimed yet another price. In a narrow alley downtown, the body of a woman was found. Police quickly identified her. Irene, or as most knew her, Irma Rodriguez, a local sex worker. Her body showed signs of beating, and around her neck, her own bra, tied with a slipknot, a technique rarely seen in Los Angeles, but in Austria, painfully familiar, though no one knew that yet. Los Angeles at the time was drowning in murders of sex workers, but this case was different. The way it was done felt like a signature carved into the crime. Detectives reviewed every murder from the past year, and soon, two more women surfaced: Shannon Exley, Sherry Ann Long. All three killed the exact same way, all three with their own bras tightened around their necks using a slipknot. The same technique, the same cold precision, the same silent signature. The LAPD reached one undeniable conclusion. There was a serial killer in the city. Patrols increased. Undercover surveillance expanded, but strangely, no one else was attacked again. The killer had either sunk into the city's shadows or had already moved on, and like in Austria, the mystery hung in the air, unanswered. Neither country knew they were hunting the same monster. This knot began to loosen in the fall of 1992. Austrian detective Ernst Geiger was drinking his morning coffee when he came across an article about the Los Angeles murders. The more he read, the more the color drained from his face. Every sentence tightened around him like a noose, because the method described was almost identical to the dark murders in Austria. The same knot, the same ritual executed step by step, the same victim profile. Geiger didn't wait a single second. He contacted the authorities immediately. "These crimes may be connected," he said. "The unsolved murders in Austria, the 3 killings in America, they might all be the work of one man." And that man's name was becoming unmistakably clear: Jack Unterweger. A single soul slipping through shadows, binding the darkness of 2 nations together. Jack Unterweger. A name everyone knows today, yet it was the echo of a much older darkness. In 1974, deep in a forest in Austria, the lifeless body of a young woman was found. 18-year-old Margaret Schaefer. A slipknot tied with her own bra around her neck, the same cold signature that would be repeated countless times in the years to come. It didn't take long for investigators to realize that the killer was someone she knew. That person was Johann Unterweger. He was just 24 years old, a young man working at a small transport company, but the darkness inside him was anything but ordinary. In court, he confessed, and the reason he gave sent chills down everyone's spine. He claimed that his suppressed rage toward his mother, who had worked as a sex worker, exploded in that moment. This wasn't just an excuse, it was a warning of what was yet to come. Jack was sentenced to life in prison, but the most dangerous part of the story was only beginning. As the years passed behind bars, Jack's hands abandoned violence and reached for a pen. He wrote about his childhood, criminal psychology, his traumas. Slowly, the name Johann faded away, replaced by a carefully crafted persona: Jack Unterweger. His books caused an uproar throughout the country. They climbed bestseller lists. Literary circles admired him. People believed they were witnessing the transformation of a convicted murderer into an artist. And no one realized how dangerous that belief really was. Jack's life story triggered a wave of sympathy. A father who was an American soldier, a mother who moved in and out of prison, a child beaten by his grandfather, a boy forced into theft at a young age. This tragic narrative charmed intellectual circles. Even Nobel Prize-winning author Elfriede Jelinek, along with many academics and writers, believed he had truly been rehabilitated. Campaigns were organized for Jack's release. And finally, after 15 years, Jack Unterweger was released in 1990. The moment he stepped out of prison, he became a star. He became a journalist, appeared on television, gave interviews. His charisma and captivating way of speaking mesmerized people. Women admired him,
Men respected him, but no one knew the man they believed they had saved had become something far darker. The real Jack was only just beginning. Silence hung over the streets of Vienna. Detectives were wrestling with a troubling possibility. Could Jack Unterweger be killing again? His past was dark, but his social standing was now polished and respectable. Because of that, they expected some resistance during questioning. Jack agreed to the interrogation, but at that moment, he was out of the country on an assignment from the TV network he worked for. Detectives waited for his return, and the moment he set foot in Vienna, they ordered him in for questioning. Days later, Jack walked through the doors of the police station. The tension in the room was thick. Investigators were examining his potential ties to the women murdered over the last 2 years. Jack reacted with anger, claiming the police were disrespecting him. "I repented for my old crimes," he said. "I've done meaningful work for society. I'm a changed man now." But the detectives never took their eyes off him. Not long after that, Jack vanished. And that's when the alarm bells finally went off. A search warrant was issued, and the team headed straight to Jack's home. At first, the house was quiet, almost empty, no obvious evidence. But then, sharp eyes spotted something, a red scarf in the closet. And that was the clue. Fibers from the scarf perfectly matched the fibers taken from the victims' bodies. Detectives held their breath, waiting for the analysis. When the results came back, the pattern was undeniable. Jack's movements and the murder timelines aligned exactly. They also found flight tickets and hotel receipts, some from Los Angeles, others from Austrian cities. Jack had traveled to the U.S. to observe the working conditions of sex workers and conduct interviews. LAPD confirmed he had been looking into the cases of the 3 murdered women in Los Angeles. Then came the lab results that sealed his fate. The red scarf from his closet matched the fibers from the victims entirely. At this point, Jack's guilt was no longer questionable. But Jack was charismatic and cunning. He tried to hide. He even called into a radio show live on air saying, "The police are after me with false accusations. I have to defend myself." Detectives couldn't locate him at first, but soon, his bank transactions betrayed his location. And on February 17, 1992, the silence in Vienna finally broke. Jack Unterweger was arrested. His escape was over. Police departments in Austria and the United States held Jack Unterweger responsible for the horrific murders of women in both countries. But the strongest evidence was in Vienna, so it was decided he would stand trial in Austria. When Jack was brought to Vienna, he stood in the interrogation room as if challenging the authorities before him. Bold, arrogant, he carried himself like a man of status in society. The police watched closely as Jack denied the charges, despite the overwhelming evidence. Every word he spoke heightened the tension in the room. Detectives investigated similar murders across Europe through Interpol. The results were chilling. In mid-1990, near Prague, Czechoslovakia, the body of a 19-year-old woman had been found in a forest. Around her neck was a slipknot-style ligature made from her own undergarments, a terrifying parallel to the murders in Austria and the United States. Investigators examined Jack's vehicles. The car he had used in Prague had been sold to a mechanic in Vienna. Under the removed seats, several long strands of hair were found. DNA testing confirmed the hairs belonged to the Prague victim. Escape was no longer possible. In the courtroom, police and prosecutors presented the evidence one by one. Although Jack had murdered 11 women, he was tried for only 9 murders. The bodies of the other 2 victims had been severely decomposed, making it nearly impossible to link them to the crimes. Psychological evaluations revealed that Jack possessed narcissistic and antisocial personality traits. The court ruled no early release, life imprisonment. But Jack Unterweger chose his own dark path. Just 9 hours after the verdict, he ended his life in his prison cell. And so, one of Austria's most terrifying serial killers came to a tragic and silent end.